Apparently, English classes are now racist, and it was only a matter of time until we found that out. Actually, let me rephrase that. It's not that the classes themselves are racist, just the teachers are racist when they decide to grade a paper based on the quality of the writing. That's what's racist. Instead, they need to judge it based on how long it took you to write the paper. At least, that's what this Arizona State dean thinks in a book that he wrote talking about how grading students based on the quality of their work is essentially racist and indicative of white supremacy. And no, I'm not making that up, that's what he said. I recognize this is from the Daily Wire, and they certainly have their own biases, but I'm not going to look at the opinions or the paraphrasing they use here. I'm only going to look at the direct quotes from the book itself, which I think are accurate. So, the book is called, if we scroll down here, Labor-Based Grading Contracts, Building Equity and Inclusion in the Compassionate Writing Classroom. And you can tell by the name, it's going to be a great book. You can also tell because if you look at Amazon, it has a grand total of 5 whole reviews, and only one of them is a 1-star. So that means it must be great, am I right? And it can be yours for the low, low price of $39.95. So if you have $40 you want to drop on a completely useless piece of crap, then go ahead and buy this book. And no, I don't call a book crap lightly, but this book pretty much is, as we'll see a little bit later. But if you really have money just burning a hole in your pocket, instead of buying a book like this, why don't you check out my Patreon? I'd really appreciate it. But that's enough begging for money. Let's jump back in and find out why this book is so ridiculous, because it really is. So if we scroll down a little bit further, we find that he says the book focuses on one kind of grading contract, one that calculates final course grades purely by the labor students complete, not by any judgments of the quality of their writing. Now, the idea here is, I believe, that the quality of writing is maybe subjective or something like that, which sure to an extent is accurate, but it's much more subjective to try and gauge how much labor or effort was put into a piece of writing than it is to judge the quality of the writing. It's really easy looking at 2 papers to see which one has a better quality. It's not so easy to see which one had more effort or labor put into it. And also, I want to point out, this standard doesn't apply to really anything in life. I'm going to scroll down because this ad is annoying me right here. If you imagine, let's say that you're a janitor and your boss asks you to, I don't know, clean a bathroom, for example, and you spend a very long time on it and you do a very poor job. Your boss comes in, he sees that there are, spots all over the floor or something, and he's like, hey, what happened here? It's not clean. And you respond with, well, the quality of my work isn't that important. What's more important is how much effort I put into it. That's not going to fly, and you might be fired. So this is not in any way based in reality. It's not racist to say that some people are better writers than others, and it's not racist to judge them or grade them on that basis. It's stupid to do anything otherwise. But let's keep going. He continues talking about how ranking, which I guess is grading or saying that one person is a better writer than another, is a part of a much longer racist and white supremacist tradition in Western intellectual history. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So, keep going. He says that grading literacy performances by a single standard for the so-called quality is racist and promotes white language supremacy. There it is. I told you I wasn't joking, and this was a literal thing he said. It's right here. Because all grading and assessment exists within systems that uphold singular, dominant standards that are racist and white supremacist when used uniformly. This problem is present in any grading system that incorporates a standard, no matter who is judging, no matter the particulars of that standard. So he's saying that anything that has a set standard, if you're grading based on that standard or judging based on a standard, it's inherently racist. So this isn't just now applying to education. This same logic would have to apply to everything. You cannot have any set standards whatsoever because they're racist, apparently. And they're based in a white supremacist culture or white language supremacy, which I actually haven't heard white language supremacy used before, but I'm sure it's a real thing because he says it right here. So if we keep going down, he says the traditional purposes and methods used for grading turn out to be de facto racist and white supremacist. That once again, grading by a standard, thus, is how white language supremacy is perpetuated in schools. And now we see he's going to start going after the teachers. He says, in our current society and educational systems, regardless of who you are, where you came from, or what your intentions or motives are as a teacher, if you use a single standard to grade students' language performances, you are directly contributing to the racist status quo in schools and society. So I love how people like this, play this mind game. They start off by saying, if you're a minority, you can't possibly be racist. And this is one of the favorite catchphrases of the left right now, that racism has to include discrimination plus power. So minorities can't be racist. But if you're a minority doing something that this random person doesn't like, and you're a teacher, then you are just perpetuating the racist status quo in schools. So you're not racist per se, you can't be racist against white people, at least, but you can certainly be racist against other minorities. That's kind of what he's saying here. He reiterates once again for good measure that all standards for good writing are deeply informed by a white racial habitus, which makes grading by such standards white supremacist. So anyone who grades by a standard of quality of writing is being white supremacist, essentially. And then he explains why he thinks that, where he says all the ways we judge language, even by well-intentioned teachers, are almost always racist and slave-making. So now we throw in this thing here, almost always white supremacist. So not only is grading by a standard racist and white supremacist, but it's also slave-making, I suppose. And I recognize we've looked at a lot of nonsense already, but I think by far this is my favorite piece right here. This is my favorite part of the entire article. So he's explaining when he was a high school freshman. He says, I lived in an explicitly racist world. The racism was very present to me. And I'm sure he's about to drop a very important thing that happened to him when he was a child, where he recognized that racism was perpetuated against him. It must have been horrific. No, the answer was he got a B in a class, and that's racism. He says, during my freshman year of high school, I got an A in honors French and every other class I took, yet received a B, not a B+, in English, not honors, regular English. How was this possible? What was I doing wrong? So before we read what he says later, it's entirely possible that you're just not that good at writing. And I haven't really read the book, but just looking at these quotes here, I would think that is the case. He's not that good at writing. It's very possible to be good at math and get A's in math and get B's or C's or D's or even F's in English without the answer being racism. You can't just blame racism on everything. You have problems that are outside of racism, believe it or not. But he says, so back to him, what did he do wrong? Apparently nothing. It was just him. I knew this, but I didn't want to admit that my language and body were being judged together. So he's essentially saying if he weren't a minority, then he wouldn't have been getting a B in English class, which I have no idea how he can back that up with proof. I don't think he can. So hopefully I've saved you $40 and you know enough about this book to recognize you shouldn't buy it, because you really shouldn't. It would be probably the worst $40 you've ever spent, unless maybe there's worse, I don't really know. Last week, we talked about how the Department of Education in Oregon thought that math was inherently racist because showing your work is racist and expecting to get the right answer is racist. And now we see that judging writing by the quality of the writing is also racist. So math is racist, English is racist, I'm sure history already is. Pretty soon we'll see that physics and science is racist. Virtually every class is going to be racist because, as we already saw here, the entire school district or school system is based in racism. So whatever teachers are teaching is pretty much racist. There's really no way to escape this, which is really upsetting to me because I went through the school system and that must mean that I'm racist now. I didn't know that. I thought I was doing a good job getting good classes and good grades, but if I got an A, that means I'm racist. That's what I've learned here. So if you got A's, I'm sorry, or if you even got B's, you're probably still racist. If you graduated from public high school, I'm sorry, you just have to admit it. We should all just admit it. This guy, he knows what he's talking about. He wouldn't sell a book and try to make money off it by lying, would he? No one would ever do that. But anyway, if you appreciate this content, and if you are not racist, even though you like to judge writing based on the quality of the writing, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you have more stories like this, I'd love to hear them, because I think it's really important we cover how ridiculous education is becoming. That critical race theory is quickly becoming more and more prominent at all of these institutions, whether it be K through 12 or even higher education. And it's unfortunate, but that's what's happening. If you haven't yet, be sure you subscribe if you appreciated getting news like this, because like I said, I'll keep covering things just like this. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.